battle happened for 3 hours on Thanksgiving night, or early morning the next morning, which would be Friday morning. I spent the next 2 days picking up bodies from around the battlefield there and placing them in a mass grave. Vivid memories is certain things you forget, and other things are etched in your memory like they were yesterday. So I remember a lot of things about that night like it was yesterday.
When we were in Hanoi, Vietnam, and we met with all the Vietnamese officials, they always brought up the fact that they had 300,000 missing of their own, and what was the United States going to do about helping them find out what happened to those that are unaccounted for.
We took a bulldozer and scraped it out, and then set the bodies in, and then filled it in.
We placed 55 bodies in that grave, so that has just been on my mind forever.
In 1989, the Vietnam Veterans of America put in place a resolution called the Veterans Initiative Program that would change the aftermath of the Vietnam-American War. The Veterans Initiative Program, or VIP, is a humanitarian effort that gives once opposing sides the opportunity to help locate missing soldiers from the war. The missing from both sides. The VIP asked American veterans to return artifacts, souvenirs, and information about possible Vietnamese grave sites in Vietnam.
Here was an opportunity for me to go help them, without expecting a return for that matter, but hoping that if these people were the same kind of humans we were, our reaching out with an open hand is going to at some point allow them to reach back and grab ours, and that is exactly what happened. And I think that's what made the whole thing so satisfying.
The hope was, and is, that the efforts shown by the VIP in returning information and artifacts, that the Vietnamese veterans would respond in kind.
The response was tremendous over the years now. We've been going back to Vietnam every year since 1993 and bringing information to Vietnam in hopes of finding out where these soldiers are buried, and also getting the returned artifacts and souvenirs that were taken back to the family so that they could have a little bit of closure in that way.
Any artifacts and information collected by the American veterans are researched and validated for authenticity and then returned to the Vietnamese government. Any artifacts and information collected by the Vietnamese concerning the missing Americans are turned over to JPAC, the Joint POW-MIA Accounting Command. These dedicated men and women of JPAC do the actual investigating, search, and recovery concerning our missing Americans.
Our relationship with JPAC works under the same philosophy as our veteran-to-veteran relationship with the Vietnamese themselves. It's a personal basis. We have no legal ties to the government. JPAC is the government. They're part of the Department of Defense. They're active duty troops. They're grunts in the field just like we were grunts in the field, only they're younger and they're still there.
The Veterans Initiative over the years has become a consistent program and a sign of cooperation between veterans, which has helped JPAC in the same way that those early Veterans Initiatives from VVA helped the oral history program. They encourage veterans from the Vietnamese side to take part in our investigations on the ground, not just interviews. They have helped the Vietnamese government to find reasons, good reasons, to reciprocate in providing information out of their museums to us.
All the image of veteran, come to the mountain, come to the jungle to look for to help Vietnamese side look for our own soldier mission action MIAs. It really touching. We are very moved about that.
War was the war, past was the past, but all we are human beings. Then some American family the same. Painful feeling of Vietnamese.
Loss is loss.
Losses.
What the members of the VIP have learned in their many visits to Vietnam is that almost every person in Vietnam carries a direct connection to a lost loved one from the Vietnamese-American War.
Có hai người thân cũng là liệt sĩ trong kháng chiến chống Mỹ.
Now we have veterans on both sides saying, we're going to help to do this.
I think soldiers all over the world, and particularly on the working levels, the frontline levels, respect one another when the fighting's over.
The VIP is unlike any other post-war cooperation. In addition to helping search for the missing, the veterans from both sides share their stories. The VIP provides direct access with veterans to create friendships between former enemies.
At some point it becomes a history project. Today it's a real project because there are people who were there who did this, who saw that, and can put that X on the ground where somebody's problem may be resolved. After that, then it's a matter of accident or a history page or a document that might accidentally come up. So we're anxious to get to the people while we still have people.
We're running out of time on both sides. We're losing veterans all the time, just because of age and we're just losing them, and they're things have changed, and you just can't keep those memories accurate sometimes as you age. And the same problem on the other side with the Vietnamese is we're losing witnesses all the time that probably had information that might have helped, but either they've passed on or again they don't remember as well, because it's time is our enemy, as we say.
The VVA believes that as long as there are children, parents, siblings, or wives of even one man still missing, the effort is still as important now as it was when that one man was sent to war.
The individual veterans didn't have to do it if they didn't want to.
They are pioneers, in the process of normalization of relations. They come here, do humanitarian work. As you know, the VVA started the VI program in 1994, so before the normalization of relations.
From the beginning, what has been unique about the VIP is that it is as much about the missing Vietnamese as the missing Americans. The American veterans came home knowing that it was them that could assist in locating the graves in Vietnam. The time has come for the American veterans to do the right thing.
Every family member who has somebody missing has a right to know what happened to them. It doesn't matter what side of the war you fought on. The most important thing is that we try to get that information or try to help them get resolution of some sort. Every mother, every father, sister, brother, wife, husband, child deserves to know what happened to their loved one when they went missing. We presented it very simply as this is the right thing to do.
The conversation between men who once shared a battlefield on opposing sides has helped to change the history of warfare and its aftermath. Opportunity for a final resting place for the missing in the Vietnam-American War has become possible through the unprecedented cooperation of former enemies.
There were a total of 13 NVA killed here too.
Yeah.
So we're lighting incense for both sides.
We understand about the pains, the sufferings of American people, American families, wives, daughter, and son, when their loved ones were not found, identified, or come home. So we understand that. So we We consider that as a humanitarian issue, and we try to help, the American people, American families, to find out the remains of their loved ones in Vietnam.
We will never bring every person home. We will never bring every soldier, airman, Marine, and sailor home. Many hundreds of them are lost far out to sea, okay? So that is an expectation that we're realistic about. I think that we can reasonably expect dozens, hundreds more to be repatriated and identified before the end of this effort. I hope hundreds.
In addition to the VIP being a humanitarian effort, one of its priorities was to investigate the last Americans known alive.
We know for sure that people just disappeared over there and nobody knows what happened to them. The last time they were seen by our people, they were alive. Whether it was a pilot or somebody wandering off on a unit or an ambushed unit site or whatever it might have been, nobody saw them killed. The government itself, JPAC, spends a lot of time, and DPMO, the Defense POWMI office in Washington, spends a lot of time taking reports on what people think might be sightings of those people who are missing. And they send investigators out on each and every one of them. And they have done it since 1975. To this date, there has never been a live person at the other end of all this investigation. Having said that, again, our resolution at the Vietnam Veterans of America, and indeed the resolution of the DPMO and the JPAC units, is that that's a #1 priority. I guess you have to arrive at your own conclusion on that. My conclusion is that we don't know. But should something come up to say we should look, we will.
In the United States, the Vietnam Memorial Wall is a monument to our fallen soldiers. 60,000 names of real people who never came home alive, and 1,500 who are still missing in action. In Vietnam, there is no memorial wall. But if there were, it would contain the names of more than 300,000 of just their missing in action. In a culture that combines Buddhism with local tradition, the dead are treated as living members of the family. They are worshipped at altars in every home. For those whose death is unknown, a special day of worship is set aside, the 15th day of the 7th month of the lunar calendar. If the souls of the missing cannot be properly cared for, they are said to be destined to wander aimlessly forever lost. For Americans, the traditions are not exactly the same, but the pain and sadness is no different in the hearts of those left to mourn. A place for eternal rest is as important to the Americans as it is for the Vietnamese.